I'm just going to officially call this commissioners meeting convened at 11:07 a.m. Today is Thursday, January 31st. Can we just go around and please state your name?
June.
Yeah.
Regina Estella. Carrie Davis. Kathy O'Leary.
Jonathan Greenspan.
Carmelyn P. Morales.
Baudelaire St. John.
Bishop Sylvia Hamilton Gonzalez.
And on the phone and video, we have... Thank you. Okay, thank you all for coming in today or Skyping in. One, I'm going to get to what is the most pressing matter before us. We want to make sure that we all have a chance to vote on or talk about, to the extent people want to talk about, the final gender rule that we have proposed. As all of you have already received, we've sent you a copy of the proposed rule. As you all know, in 2015, the Commission issued legal enforcement guidance on its legal enforcement on gender identity and gender expression related discrimination at the agency and our interpretation of the law as it relates to that area. And then more recently, within the last year, we turned that legal enforcement guidance into formal rulemaking. There was a notice and comment period, there was a hearing, we received several comments in return. Commission staff also, and commissioners also met with and spoke with folks from the public who had interest in that rulemaking process. And now before us, we have a final rule which we can, as a commission, vote on. First, I wanted to see if anyone has any comments or questions on the proposed rule.
A brief comment. Obviously, the public comments were, the vast majority of them were obviously supportive of what the commission had proposed. There were some religious groups who expressed some concerns, and I just want to thank the staff because I thought that they listened to those concerns and addressed them in a very, very practical and respectful way. And while I think some of the desires on the part of some people in the religious community are not met in this final rule, I do think that there are practical solutions that the law has, and religious organizations can avail them of those practical solutions. And so I just want to thank the staff for being very, very responsive to those concerns.
Thank you for taking the time out to say that. Hear it.
So I just want to put this in context. I know we went into this quickly, but in 1998, myself and 8 other individuals met and created an organization to create the legislation that this rule is based on. And we worked until 2002. We couldn't get it passed in 2001. The then Speaker of the House, the Council, as well as the Mayor, refused to let it come to a vote, even though there was overwhelming support for it. We passed it in 2002. It became law. We then worked with the Commission on Human Rights to create guidelines. They weren't the guidelines we wanted. They weren't the rules and regulations that we had hoped for at the time, but we worked for over a year and finally got something into on paper from the commission. And then these later changes, I think, are really powerful closure to a process. And I really want to commend the commission's work on this. Having seen this, when you think about how long it has taken this work to pass through and how many people have been involved in this process, this is a very huge accomplishment. So I just want to say thank you.
I just want to add how personally gratifying it is to have Carrie Davis as one of our commissioners able to vote on this final rule, given that history, and appreciative of the input and the work that you've put into this historically and at this process. Thank you, Carrie.
It's good to be here at the end.
Yeah, I just want to thank the staff for a marvelous work that is being done. And because the future belongs to the young ones, I brought my transgender student with me to be a witness today.
Thank you for the commission and the staff because they're working hard, and because the Sikh community usually was discriminated too much, but now we have all the problems almost resolved. Whenever anybody gets discriminated, they make a claim, and then publicly they were satisfied.
So with there being no further discussion, I am moving to approve the final rules establishing certain definitions and clarifying the scope of the New York City human rights law protections related to to gender. Does anyone second that motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And I think that it is unanimous, so the motion carries. The final rules on gender are approved, for the record. Thank you all. Anna, did you have to leave us?
I unfortunately do, and I apologize for that. We have a major staff meeting going on, and I'm sorry I can't be there.
Thank you for interrupting it to join the vote. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Fantastic. Okay. So with that, I wanted, since we meet just quarterly, I wanted to provide some brief updates from across the agency and then open it up for any other issues that the commissioners have. Office of the Chair, I'm going to ask Dana Sussman, who's our Deputy Commissioner for Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs, to provide that update.
Hi everyone. Just wanted to share, so the gender rules was one major project of the Office of the Chair, and thank you all for, especially Carrie, for all of your work that we're building upon today. So now we're moving on to other areas of protection. We are hoping to publish legal enforcement guidance in 2 areas this year, pretty significant: immigration status discrimination and religious discrimination. Areas that obviously we've seen under attack, and we want to be bold and transparent and clear about what those protections mean in the city of New York. Our immigration status protections are actually technically called alienage and citizenship protections, but that's antiquated language and it really just means your immigration status. Those are the closest to being published, probably hopefully in March. And then we'll be working on legal enforcement guidance on religion and religious accommodations. So we have specific provisions in our law that allow for accommodations based on religious practices, to pray at work, to wear religious attire, and to take time off for holidays and observances. So that'll be forthcoming later this year. We are also hoping to publish next week a short document, legal enforcement guidance on discriminatory hair policies. This is very specific to hair, natural hair, and hairstyles most commonly associated with Black people. As we've seen across the country, there's been horrific incidents of young people in schools being turned away because of their locks or their braids. We saw, I think everyone saw the video of the high school wrestler in New Jersey having his locks cut in order for him to participate in a high school wrestling match. There's been not terrible case law, in fact, in the federal courts as recently as last year, and the Supreme Court denied certiorari to hear the case. So we've done the research. There's nothing holding us back from taking the position that a policy that prohibits natural hair or hairstyles most commonly associated with Black people from being a violation of our law on the basis of race. So we are going to publish that, and we're also acknowledging in that guidance that there are existing protections and strong ones for hairstyles, hair, beards, turbans, head coverings, hijabs, in the context of religious protections, and often in the context of gender as well, so allowing women to have long hair but men can't, would be a gender-based violation. And then even in the disability context, Black men in particular often wear beards because of specific skin-related and ingrown hair-related issues, so that would be potentially in the disability context. But this time we would be specifically talking about how this relates to race. So we think this is important to make a statement on. We have multiple law enforcement actions currently being investigated on these kinds of policies in the employment context, where people have been told to change their hair because it's not professional or quote-unquote neat. So we think, we're hoping to publish this next week. We'll keep you all up to speed on that one.
I just want to note on this, sometimes we talk about these issues and it sounds so basic, and some people are still surprised. I think a lot of people were horrified when they saw that video of the wrestler in New Jersey. But as Dana said, it's still something that is very complicated, unfortunately, on the federal level, looking at it from a legal perspective. So this is, I think, yet another time that we as New York City can kind of lead the way in this area to call out something for what it is. racist policies that are rooted in, racist notions of beauty or cleanliness, etc. And we do anticipate that it will make, it will be a significant contribution we have to civil rights, human rights nationally.
And then our last quick update is that just last night, so Kathy and Anna did a quick turnaround because they were with us last night. We hosted a public hearing on pregnancy and caregiver discrimination at CUNY Law. It's our second public hearing. We actually were at CUNY Law a little over a year ago on our sexual harassment in the workplace public hearing. Last night we brought together over 120 folks were in attendance. We had, I think, 22 individuals testify across both the workplace rights space, which is sort of our typical folks, low-wage workers, immigrant workers, workers across industries were represented. But then we also had the health, reproductive justice, birth justice, medical side of things there to talk about why pregnancy accommodations are so important, particularly in low-wage industries or particularly in industries where people are putting their health at risk or their pregnancies at risk to continue working. Or having to quit jobs or leave on unpaid leave and putting themselves in particularly economically vulnerable places. So it was, while we haven't had much time to reflect since it was a little more than 12 hours ago, we, I think, all felt like it was very moving in many ways. People talk about their personal experiences with caregiver and pregnancy discrimination, and also really informative and gave us, I think, a lot of work to do. Our to-do list is growing. I think in particular, one of the assistant commissioner from the Department of Health was there. And I think there's just a lot of partnerships to be built with the Department of Health and working with health practitioners, providers, midwives, doulas, OBs on sharing information about what accommodations are available to pregnant workers and breastfeeding workers, and building off of the partnerships that we created through this hearing. So, and we'll be publishing a report that we did on sexual harassment with CUNY Law's Human Rights and Gender Justice Clinic, and we will be updating our pregnancy guidance that we issued in 2016 into rulemaking. So that'll probably be the next rules that you will all vote on, hopefully, in a few quarterly meetings from now. So we will be working on this a lot in 2019 into 2020.
If you want to offer any reflections, since you were there.
No, I mean, what came through is that it's complex, like shifting the expectation, practices, and norms is going to be complex, right? It's far more than just issuing a rule and sharing it. That's step one. But it's so, everything from the testimonies of the OBs to people working in all kinds of sectors made it clear that it's an uphill, long-term, another sort of shocking battle because it's so basic that you don't want people who are pregnant to suffer health consequences with them to make a living. But we're so far from it. I mean, there's just it's shocking how much work in almost every sector still needs to go on to make pregnancy safe for workers.
Thank you, David. Marissa?
Now we're going to have an update from Marissa Glad.
On a different level, I just wanted to share, it's a sort of, I guess, quirky way of looking at the immigration status piece, but just to share some stuff that people are doing in Chicago. It's in the employment context, which is complicated around the work status, but actually in Chicago in the temp sector, the discrimination runs against workers who are perceived to have status. They will not hire them, which is a very divisive tactic, splitting low-income Black and brown communities in Chicago status. So, in simplest terms, they're not hiring Black workers in the temp industry. They are hiring Latino workers because they perceive them not to have status, whether they do or not, and then they perceive them as less likely to push for specific basic rights in the workplace. And so it's a bit of a twist, but we are working on challenging that in Chicago. And it's just another way of thinking about how we work functions and the way it splits communities and the way status is manipulated to keep a workforce disempowered. It's just real. You walk into any temp agency there and the numbers don't make sense.
Is there anything, have there been news reports or anything published in Missouri or otherwise?
We are in the process of, we have just hired testers. We're working with a group in DC that they're testing company, testing organization,
Yeah.
and a company, a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing testing. This is Mission Republic.
That's in Chicago.
That's
so-
Don't share this, please.
Yes, yes.
So there will be some big.
Great, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to be equally brief. We want to first give you an update on our bias response efforts for the last few months. I think as you all may know, we recently got involved in sort of responding to some very racist marketing and selling of racist items by product. And so I'm going to defer to colleagues as to the enforcement piece of that, but it was one of the first occasions on which we were able to, across the commission, rapidly mobilize and respond within the same day. And so that really speaks to how much work our bias response team has been able to do to develop the short time this existed. And so I just wanted to highlight that because it was truly a complete, like, all commission effort. And within a matter of hours, we've been able to mobilize a team again across departments to Prada's Soho location to sort of talk to, first of all, talk to the management there, but then to sort of mobilize New Yorkers who are shopping, who were just passing by it and letting them know about the human rights law and that what they were seeing in the windows of Prada were not acceptable. So that was great. Just a little bit about metrics, just as some sort of proof of what I'm talking about. For the first 4 months of fiscal year 2018, there were 30 bias responses coming from the commission. So that means the 30 cases that had come, or 30 matters that we had become aware of, that we were responding to. That's the first 4 months of fiscal year 2018. For the first 4 months of fiscal year 2019, there are 103. There were 146 for all of fiscal year 2018. So that just shows how much additional reporting and additional response we are doing. We continue to be very small but mighty, but I iterate very small. In terms of the core full-time bias response staff that exists in the Community Relations Bureau. And so we therefore rely on the interdepartmental collaboration to bolster our efforts whenever something comes in. Just a really brief, we have responded to the Cornerstone Caroline incident in Flatbush where, you may remember, a woman accused a young black boy of sexually assaulting her. And of course, that was not the case. It was just another incident of sort of the oppressive forces of gentrification and anti-black racism. Hate literature distributed in Woodlawn in the Bronx in November. We responded to that. And Muslim Deli owner also in the Bronx who was, called names and someone came back, and tried to set the deadly fire. Police responded to that. And just last week, we responded to the vandalism against the Buddhist temple in Queens. And then we also stood in solidarity with community members in Brooklyn after that horrifying and fatal attack at the Seaport Buffet in Brooklyn, an anti-Chinese incident. So again, the work continues, and we are, just continue to rely on your support as we try to build out the team. Here, Black History Month, we did an engagement. We sort of started Black History Month with Martin Luther King Day weekend. We went to Riverdale, and it was also the first time we went to Riverdale Temple and talked about race and racism and how to combat white supremacy in Jewish communities. It was a really delightful occasion, and it was well received and access to come back. We did one for adults, and we did another engagement with youth. Really, that was fantastic. We are now planning the first ever awards ceremony in honor of Black New Yorker or two who have really dedicated their lives be on the importance of solidarity and intersectionality. We're going to follow up on what Commissioner Altis was saying about the divisive tactics that also often will sort of conquer, sort of the divide and conquer tactics with communities of color. And we are working on on ways to bring those communities together and to just remind everyone to continue to maintain perspective, but we have to remain united if we're going to combat, resist, and eventually overtake the trend of white supremacy, white nationalism, and white authoritarianism that seem to be pervading the country. In addition, we are going to, I want to say a word about our referral network that we built out. It was a recommendation after we released the report on discrimination against Muslim, Arab, South Asian, Jewish, and Sikh workers. One of the key recommendations was that we should form a referral network. That referral network is active now, it's in its pilot phase, and it is now functioning as also a consortium of some of the same organizations with whom we will be launching this Combating White Authoritarianism event. Just the name of a couple of them, Arab American Association of New York, Jews for Racial and Economic Justice, Sikh Coalition, Chaya, African Communities Together, CARE, and I believe Sauti Yetu, also among them. So it's a referral network, and so we have, I'm just really nervous that I'm mindful of the time. We've gotten the organizations who are part of the network to agree to use the commission staff as official liaisons. We regularly check in with the organizations to assess how we can better serve their communities. We host workshops for their staff. We have gotten them to agree to feature prominently all of our literature so that the people who they serve are able to access information about our law. And ultimately, it is a way for us to build that sort of intersectional solidarity and community power building that we realize is essential to better combat bias and just to strengthen communities. We're really proud of that work. It's new, but it's just a reflection of what we're able to do, even when our capacity is limited, when we are able to work together with our eyes on, just a more just and everyone else. So, thank you.
I'll just add on the bias response efforts. Obviously we're also seeing a rise in anti-Semitic incidents across the city. Unfortunately, we just heard about two other incidents that happened just yesterday in Brooklyn. And with that, in the efforts to kind of edify our staff and being able to identify anti-Semitic incidents or microaggressions that we see or experience or hear about in the communities as they come up. We're also doing an internal kind of cultural competency training on anti-Semitism for commission staff coming in early February. That's one thing. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that, I've mentioned this in prior meetings, but of course, in many of these incidents, we're also having to address issues that are happening, inter-community within the city. So incidents in which we are looking at vulnerable communities or where members of vulnerable communities are also, in some instances, the aggressors of different types of discrimination being perpetrated. And I think that is some of the most important work, frankly, that our bias response teams are doing to kind of address those incidents when they happen, to kind of talk to local and community leaders about what foundationally is going on in those situations, and to try to kind of address kind of the root issues that is coming from. These are obviously, many of these issues are rooted in longstanding historic issues and economic issues in the city. It is not an easy topic for us to delve into, and as we've done in the past, commissioners around here can assume that we will continue to tap in and rely on you for your consultation and advice as they occur. I don't know if anyone else wants to mention anything on that. Okay. Then we'll have a report, thank you so much, Martha. We'll have a report from our law enforcement bureau.
This is a designated community.
I want to say that Sumner Rogers, commissioners here, I'm going to be bragging about a lot of her work. Give her a shout out. You've heard already a little bit about the Prada situation, so I have a few highlights in each of our jurisdictional areas. In the public accommodations area, we sent a cease and desist. This is our first action in this kind of situation, a cease and desist letter to stop the display of racist products. And so that has been covered in the press. We'll update you once it's resolved about the outcome. We also, this one hasn't yet been announced, but we also, in a racial profiling case filed by a customer at JCPenney, resolved that case with both a payment to the complainant, some civil penalties, and they're developing nationally an anti-profiling policy. So we're really excited about that. In the housing context, we resolved our first housing case in a situation in which a large landlord was using criminal history to screen out tenants, and which can be have a race and national origin-based discriminatory impact on Black and Latino tenants. But we got them to change their policy, which opens up housing, we hope, and also a significant payment, $55,000 to the tenant that's affected, and $25,000 civil penalty. And that's one of the first of its kind. This is an implementation of a guidance that HUD released a couple of years ago. There has not been much enforcement of this kind. In employment, we conciliated our first case where we required an employer to stop using a mandatory arbitration agreement with its employees. And that's something we're going to be implementing more and more in our conciliation agreements. That was a pregnancy discrimination case. We've settled a number of pregnancy discrimination cases recently with policy changes to ensure compliance going forward with the Criminal Justice Fairness Act and payments for the complainants. We also have resolved a number of Fair Chance Act cases with large employers recently. ABM, which is a maintenance company, CBS, and Mount Sinai among them, both including payments to affected workers who were denied employment, but also changes to policy. And some of these employers are not just big employers in the city, but also statewide. And for some of them, we have negotiated for them to change their policy nationally. Now I'll just mention a couple large settlements recently in sexual harassment and disability cases. We settled a sexual harassment case on behalf of a low-wage worker and her husband who worked in the same workplace. She was sexually harassed, he was retaliated against, she terminated $181,000 for both of them in a mid-sized employer, and then also changes going forward to address that kind of situation. And a disability discrimination case where we're recovering $135,000. So those are big numbers for us.
I'm going to add too, since Hollis mentioned some of what we're doing with mandatory arbitration provisions and conciliation. Obviously, mandatory arbitration has become a huge issue as there's been a lot more focus on how that has impacted workers who've been sexually harassed and their ability to seek redress. And so what we've been trying to do is increasingly kind of use our leverage to get companies to as part of the conciliation process, waive mandatory arbitration, not just for a specific claim at issue. So, for instance, in the case that Hollis mentioned, that arose in the context of conciliation on a pregnancy discrimination matter, but we're basically asking employers to waive mandatory arbitration for basically any claims that would fall within the city human rights law, which is pretty significant and pretty huge. And we're going to be increasingly looking for that as part of the conciliation process. Any questions? Yeah.
So on the Prada case specifically, you said there was a cease and desist. So what's the mechanism? Because I know that was just visual imagery. My partner's organization, a lawyer there, is the one who reported it initially, and so I was reading about it as the day went on. What's the legal mechanism for seeing racist visual imagery? And it really was. It was incredible. How do we act in that?
Other, in addition to getting them to take it down.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we have a chance to explore that. In this case, there is a complaint going through the whole investigation and the process.
that's what, basically all remedies are available.
Yeah.
It's a public accommodations case, so there would not be any sort of special, anything. We have both the traditional remedies and then also the provisions of the law that say, and other remedies that adequately address the situation. And so we're looking at it for, in these kinds of situations, we're looking for policy changes, training, other kinds of preventative relief that would not only redress what happened, but also put in place a system that makes sure that that doesn't happen again.
And those types of entities exist as both public accommodations as well as employers, right? So there's ways of thinking about them from both sides. Any other questions? Ricky, you want to talk a little bit about our upcoming campaign?
Sure. So,
Thanks,
as
Holmes.
you all know, some of the areas in which, or one of the areas in which the commission has had real impact over the last few years has been with increased kind of public education and communications efforts. So, you see a campaign on sexual harassment, campaign about a year before that, a few months before that on xenophobia and other forms of bias. We are really happy to kind of let you guys know that we're teeing up now a public education campaign around anti-Black racism. And we use the same process that we use for all of these campaigns, identifying some potential concepts, and then went to a set of focus groups to see what real New Yorkers thought about them. And we've landed on the concept that what we do is very direct and very consistent with kind of the zeitgeist, and so we're really excited about that. And are hoping that it will roll out in late February. I don't know if there's more to say about that.
Sure, I'll just add, I think conceptually, the campaign is also meant to connect with the feeling that Black New Yorkers, or I think Black people across the country, have been feeling that, kind of just existing in everyday spaces, whether it's schools or stores or shops, etc., kind of just existing as a person who's Black kind of exposes them to increased scrutiny or criminalization. And so the campaign that will be coming out is meant to kind of really hit on I think those themes. And we're very excited about it, so you will see that coming out soon. Any questions on that campaign? Okay. I'm going to open it up just for any open discussion for a few minutes. If there's things that folks want to raise, I know people have to race off to different places today. I know I have to go to the Bronx for St. Paul Muirburg as well, but anything for open discussion?
I'm sorry, Bishop.
I just wanted to point out, I don't know, Brittany, if you've heard of it, that the Department of Health is making it mandatory that students from age 1 to 5 must get the flu shot, no matter what. The Department of Education has informed us that that shouldn't be. But at my institution, we are asked that our parents take the children to receive flu shots. We don't think that's right. They have their immunization shots that they require, but parents do not believe that their children should be mandatorily getting a flu shot, after which some students do get sick. And it's being said, well, if they don't have the shot, they can't come to school, which means that mother can't go to work. And I think that is not right.
Well, that's definitely new to me. I plan to talk to you after this.
Yes, I'll give you some more information on that. But this is basically what's happening. Now, the DOE is saying that should not be, but the DOH is saying this is mandatory. But there's a conflict right there, and we're like caught in the middle, but we're going to stand up. Unfortunately, some parents rush off and got a shot, and even though for religious reasons, some of them did not want the shot, they were forced to take the shot. Yes.
Just two things. I had mentioned it at the last meeting, but I don't think it was fully addressed. Going back to the summer of, I think, 2017, we were routinely getting weekly updates through, I think, the social media director about what the commission's engaged in. I haven't gotten any since I raised it in the October meeting, so if we can get that back on track. I just think these meetings only happening 4 times a year, it's a tremendous amount of information that's downloaded, but if we can get it on a weekly basis, that would be fine. And just to amplify what was mentioned, and I'll be brief, about the anti-Semitic attacks, I mean, I think it's important for everybody to understand that these have become prolific. If you're not familiar, I mean, we just start going back to, the last time we got together, which was early October, but, since then, you've had incidents largely in Borough Park, and in Williamsburg, although not exclusively. We had a Jewish professor at Columbia who had swastikas painted outside of her home. You have young boys being pushed to the ground, Hasidic men being randomly punched. One in particular, a cab driver, literally just pulled over with nothing to precipitate it, just started beating someone in the middle of the street. And of course, we had the Crown Heights incident. So look, all of these are obviously assaults, and that falls under the jurisdiction of the police department. It has been a big challenge, and I've been talking to Beth about it, because the community in this case does have a very, very strong relationship with the NYPD, and in almost, I'm pretty sure in every single case that I certainly mentioned, perhaps with the exception of the Columbia incident, I don't think they found the perpetrator. But in every single incident that I mentioned, every assault, they have found the perpetrator. And so that's going to work its way through. In almost every case, they've been labeled hate crimes. But I really would like to ramp up the conversation that you alluded to. I was unaware that it was going on. There's actually been some investment going on in other communities to find out, hey, what is really driving this? And so I'd like to just say, I'd like to be part of that conversation. I'd like to bring in others into that conversation, because we're seeing a pattern here. It's not coming from white nationalists. It's coming from people who live side by side with these communities, and I think we really need to get to the heart about what's really driving this violence.
If you're interested in helpful anyway, but I'm on another board, it's on the board, called Political Research Associates, and one of their areas of national research activities is white supremacy and anti-Semitism, national connection, and so there's sort of national experts on that if you want any specific support.
The Queens Human Rights Commission, I think that is very good, because they set up a table of temple and Richmond has Queens community. They educated the people, what their rights, how they when they get discriminated, where they can go. And every Sunday, mostly I see last Sunday too, because we have a highly populated Sikh community at Queens. And second thing, I really appreciated the Human Rights Commission was last year they gave us the celebration, the Vaisakhi celebration. And this year they're going to be, they set up the date already April 11th. Because Vaisakhi is very important for the Sikh community, because April 13, 1699, the creation of our Sikh religion. So that's, the Sikh community is very proud, because the City Hall they gave us the chance to celebration of Vaisakhi. And our 6-day parade in Manhattan every year. This year they're going to be 31 parade in Manhattan on April 27th. And I like to invite everyone, officially you can get the letter from the office. And our mayor, honorable mayor, always attend the 6-day parade. And our police commissioner, O'Neill, they attend the parade. And I like to be more culture and more exchange with the people, dialogue. We set up the tables over there. So I would like to be invited those who even do everything to join them.
Okay, it is 11:48